They said the throne of the ancient world wasn't taken by war, it was chosen by ritual. Deep inside the golden palaces, where incense burned and marble floors glowed under torchlight, the next queen wasn't crowned. She was selected through a ceremony so secret that even priests whispered it only in fear. Behind closed gates, beauty, bloodline, and obedience were tested in ways no history book would ever admit. What began as a ritual of devotion became a weapon of control, where sex decided power and silence was survival. Today, we uncover one of history's most disturbing traditions, how the women of empires were turned into pawns in a game ruled by kings, priests, and desire itself. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button because the truths buried under gold are darker than any battlefield. And leave a comment. Do you believe beauty was power in the ancient world or its curse? The story begins not in peace, but in captivity. 79 AD Rome. Beneath the roar of 50,000 spectators, a young woman named Sabina waited in chains. Above her, the empire celebrated blood. Below, it prepared something far worse, a ritual where mercy had no place, and desire was law. The noise of Rome's grand arena thundered above, but in the cold darkness below, Sabina stood chained, her heart steady but broken. Only 19. She had already watched her two brothers slaughtered for the crowd's pleasure. The smell of blood, sweat, and hot iron filled every corner of the underground chambers. Rome called this entertainment. Sabina called it the end of her people, her homeland. A proud Celtic tribe from the northern hills had fallen months earlier. Now, she was a prize, a living trophy. When the games ended that day, she would be chosen by the victor, not for freedom, but for something far more horrifying. Rome's generals believed rebellion could only be erased through humiliation. Killing was easy. Breaking the spirit took more skill. Above her, the emperor watched his champion, Gaius Valerius Maximus, the undefeated gladiator whose body was carved with scars like medals. He had fought for 14 years, winning his life one blade at a time. The crowd screamed his name as he drove his sword through the neck of Sabina's last surviving kinsman. When the body hit the sand, Gaius looked up to the emperor's box. The gesture came thumbs up. The reward was his: gold, wine, and the carnal privilege of choosing from among the conquered women. Sabina didn't know yet that her name was already written on that bronze tablet. The guards entered, her holding cell, carrying buckets of water not to drink, but to wash her. Each woman was stripped, scrubbed, combed, and dressed in a plain tunic. It was not mercy. It was preparation. An older prisoner, a temple priestess, whispered the truth. They're not killing us. They're giving us away. The women were herded into the lift system under the arena. Above them, 50,000 voices shouted, calling for blood and laughter. When the gates opened, blinding sunlight poured in. The air trembled with heat. They were forced onto the sand, lined up like offerings. The announcer read their crimes: rebellion, treason, refusing Rome's gods. Then came the final command. They would fight each other. Whoever survived would belong to the victors. The losers would die. Wooden swords were thrown at their feet. Sabina's opponent stepped forward. It was her friend Damascus, the sister of her late fiancé. For a heartbeat, neither moved. The crowd grew restless, shouting, throwing food and coins. Fight, they demanded. But Sabina and Damascus didn't lift their swords. In front of all Rome, they defied an empire. For 90 seconds, two unarmed women stood unbroken. It was the purest rebellion the arena had ever seen. Guards stormed the sand, struck Damascus to the ground, dragged both away. Their fate wasn't death. It was something quieter, and crueler. Down in the chambers, a scribe noted the outcome. To resistant subjects transferred for private allocation. Those words sealed their future. Gaius Valerius Maximus was called to choose. When he entered Sabina's cell, the sound of his armor filled the silence. She looked up from the corner, expecting violence. He looked at her and saw not an enemy, but a mirror. For the first time since his own father had died in chains, Gaius hesitated. He removed his helmet, sat down, and spoke in broken words of her language. He asked her the name of the man she had lost. She whispered, "Disabilis." He nodded. "I killed a man by that name." Hours passed, and the brutal world above them faded. They spoke not as victor and captive, but as two souls trapped by the same empire. When the guard returned, expecting the worst, Gaius made a decision that would brand him a traitor in the eyes of Rome. He told the guard that the woman was ill-diseased and must be sent to the infirmary. It was the only loophole left. The guard hesitated, then obeyed. Sabina was carried away to the medical quarters, still alive. She died 3 days later, from infection saved from one kind of horror only to meet another. Gaius never saw her again. He fought 2 more times that month, won both matches, and refused his rewards each time. Whispers spread through the gladiator barracks. Maximus had gone soft. Some said he'd joined a forbidden cult preaching mercy. Others said a witch had cursed him. The truth was simpler. He had remembered what it meant to be human. That tiny act of compassion sent shockwaves through Rome. Within weeks, senators were forced to confront what everyone already knew, but no one dared name. One senator's nephew, inspired by Gaius, refused his own reward and was beaten by his trainer. The Senate convened to address what they delicately called customs regarding conquered women. For 4 hours, they argued, some defending tradition, others warning that such cruelty was fueling rebellion. In the end, fear of revolt outweighed pride. On October 1st, 79 AD, the Senate passed the Lex Captiva, the law of the captive women. It banned the public humiliation and distribution of conquered women in arena games. It changed nothing privately, but for the first time, Rome admitted there were limits, even to its own savagery. 3 months later, Gaius finally earned his freedom. His last recorded act was purchasing the release of one woman, Damascus. Historians believe she was the same woman who had stood beside Sabina that day on the arena floor. He saved one life, but not the world. Rome's machine was too vast, its cruelty too profitable. Yet his small rebellion left a mark. In the ruins beneath the Colosseum, archaeologists have uncovered cells with iron rings, drain channels, and scratches carved by desperate hands. Beside them, bronze tags stamped with a single word captiva. These were not myths. They were inventory, proof that Rome turned flesh into property, desire into law, and cruelty into entertainment. What makes this story horrifying isn't just the pain, it's the perfection of the system. The empire built its cruelty with the same precision it built its aqueducts. It turned domination into ritual, stripping its victims of name, will, and dignity. Gaius was both tool and prisoner, forced to fight, rewarded with power he didn't want, trapped between survival and guilt. Sabina's suffering became another number in the Senate's records, her name erased, her memory hidden beneath layers of marble and myth. And yet, 2,000 years later, when archaeologists uncovered her chamber, they found her story carved in silence. The iron rings, the marks on stone, the echoes of resistance that refused to die. Rome may have ruled the world, but even its might couldn't bury the truth forever. The lesson she left behind is clear: civilization isn't measured by its monuments, but by how it treats the powerless. The blood beneath Rome's marble wasn't only from warriors, it was from innocence turned into spectacle. And that is how sex chose queens, not through love or destiny, but through a ritual of power that chained both victim and victor. So remember Sabina when you look at the Colosseum today. Beneath the arches tourists admire lies a graveyard of forgotten souls. The empire that promised glory also perfected degradation. If this story unsettled you, subscribe, because the past still whispers warnings we dare not ignore. Like, share, and comment what you think. Was this Rome's darkest secret, or simply the truth behind civilization's greatest lie?